into the future. So God is saying, I don't want you to find yourself in the future and it's your first time there. You must have visited that place. Okay? The boy. And what the 11-year-old boy did is so powerful that it can control the 50-year-old man who is not born again. You have to understand that the only access, the license that you have currently, the permission that you have to visit the future is a dream or vision or an idea, a thought. How do I invest into the future? You have then to travel into the future.
Shalom, a warm welcome to the Watcher's Plug. Thank you for joining us today. Now, we're going to be watching a video by Prophet Emmanuel Makandiwa under the series of the Zephnath Pioneer. And in this video, he's going to be teaching on the capacity of the soul to reach into the future. So the video is titled How to Visit the Future. And as Prophet Makandiwa teaches, he touches on the topic of salvation. He says that it is important to be born again, and he teaches on what to do after one is born again. Now, without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it and we'll be back with more. And to understand in depth, we advise that you watch to the very end of the video.
So the issue now is because you have two dimensions. Imagine when you were young, though you had the sinful nature, but in terms of committing sins, your sins were very few by then. Yes, that's right. You had not yet started stealing, destroying, killing people. You were still young. So there is a measure of holiness that you had at that time, which makes you more powerful. At that time. And then when you were growing up and committing more sins, you were becoming weaker and weaker than you were before. So imagine now you have a man who is now 50-year-old, but who is weaker than an 11-year-old boy. And what the 11-year-old boy did is so powerful that it can control a 50-year-old man who is not born again. Okay. What is making this young man more powerful is his less exposure to sinful acts. At that point, like a baby that is born today, yes, there is a sinful nature within that baby, but there's the presence of angels around that boy. Wow. You have the presence of God in that house when you have a new baby. Until the baby begins to get into some crazy things, right? And the amount of that presence of God begins to deteriorate and it begins to go down. So when you think that you are maturing physically, you are actually going down spiritually. There's a level of maturity that you are losing as you are growing physically. This is why now what happened when you were young becomes a permanent fixture.
That's powerful, Father.
That can drag the man who is in his 50s back to infancy. And you can have some of the men that are grown-ups, that are mature, but they still speak like children. You still decide like a little boy. There's no maturity in the choices that you make. You are being influenced, being controlled by the bigger magnet because you have remained the smaller magnet. You should have been born again, study the word, develop yourself, become bigger than your previous experiences so that you're no longer controlled by any former deposit that you would have done into that atmosphere. So, worse off if you continue dreaming about that past again while you still 50. Okay. It's a further deposit, it's a further investment. into the past again.
You're strengthening that establishment.
Exactly.
Okay.
You are building one, it's a brick upon another brick.
Okay.
Until your house now is completed, but it's in the past. You are building a structure, a house, but it's not in the future. So it's not any house that you will have to find in the future. You will have to lose your job, go back to the village, and then you stay in that house. You laid the foundation whilst you were young. Now you're going back again at 50. Depositing the same amount of fear into that structure, making it a permanent structure. Now when it gets to the point where now it is completed, it is now roofed, it's now a formidable force. You can't resist it. Now it's inviting you to come and stay in that house because you build it with your emotion called fear. Same thing happens whilst you are here now in the present. You are talking about investing into the future. You have to understand that the only access, the license that you have currently, the permission that you have to visit the future is a dream or vision or an idea, a thought. How do I invest into the future? You have then to travel into the future as a soul and see something that stimulates your emotion called happiness.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
You must do a tour. Walk around that property in the future long enough until your emotion releases a radiation called happiness into that space in the future. That place might be a place which is yet to be allocated to people for stands, but you can get to that place before time and make a deposit, not to the council, but you can release that energy into that place, and you know that your place is secured. Now, when you come back into the present, you know that you have lost something into the future. There is something that you have transferred into your future account. Now, make that one bigger. Make that one bigger. Okay.
Yes,
Because whilst you are there in the future, you are a bigger entity, a more mature person. Because we move from glory to glory, from faith to faith. So when you see yourself in the future, it's a bigger version of you because of glory to glory migration. So what you deposit in the future, it's a bigger version of you that is depositing into the future. Which means the smaller version of you in the present will be affected by the bigger magnet that is now in the future. I don't know if you're following this.
Yeah.
Yes. So whilst you are dreaming, make sure that you understand it's a season, it's a moment of depositing energy into the future. So God is saying, I don't want you to find yourself in the future and it's your first time there. You must have visited that place. Okay? You must have attained, you must have procured that place spiritually. By being happy around that area. So when you wake up, you know that you have something much bigger in your future and something much weaker in your past. Why? Because now you are born again. Okay. So once you're born again, you can no longer be affected by what happened when you were young. Because that righteousness is not according to God. It's according to age. But the righteousness that you now have in the present, it's an inheritance. It's an imputed righteousness placed upon you by God. And that makes you bigger than your past. That is, if you are born again. That's the best way you can escape your past. You have to be born again. And the moment you are born again, you are bigger than your previous experiences. So that your previous experiences can no longer drag you back. You are heading towards the future.
Yes.
Now, so I'm sure in my present, I'm no longer going back to the past. The best I can do is to bring my past into the present and remodify my previous dream.
Okay.
Because I told you, whilst you were young, you were dreaming of a certain shoe. And you wanted to buy that shoe growing up. Until now, you have grown up, they are no longer producing that shoe. What are you going to do? A car that you used to love growing up, you said, I'll buy this one. They are no longer producing that one. So when is that dream going to be fulfilled? This is why I'm saying, as your soul is developing, your dream world has to develop and your experiences have to be upgraded. So you must be able to bring back that vehicle into the present and have it upgraded. Okay? Okay. So because you have now been made bigger and stronger by conversion, by new birth. So I bring my experiences into the present. Whether it was a fearful experience, I can deal with it now because I'm now strong. Okay? And I can post it into the future. So what has happened is weaker. What is ahead of me is strong. So I now have to be careful. Since I'm born again, I'm moving from faith to faith. So if I'm going to see something happening to me in the next 10 years, it's a better version of me.
Yes.
It's an improved version of me.
Yes.
Who is seeing that. So I must pile up, put everything that I have according to the capacity of my soul into that space. So that when I come back into the present, I'm weaker than my future investment. Because I'm moving from glory to glory. There's a greater glory in the future that is pulling me towards itself. I don't know if what I'm saying is really sinking.
It is. Thank you.
So there is a way of knowing that this dream is in the past or it is